Hello everyone, this is Arohi and welcome to the detailed deep learning program. And in my today's class, I'll show you how to use perceptron for practically, and I will show you the working of perceptron on a text dataset. In my next class, I'll show you how to use perceptron on image dataset, right? But in my today's class, I'll show you how to use perceptron on a dataset with a CSV file, right? You have a dataset in the form of CSV file and how to use perceptron on that for binary classification. All right, so let's begin. So first of all, I have imported all the required modules, right? And then over here, I'm using pandas and I'm reading the dataset file over here. So the dataset which I'm using over here is sonar.csv file. Sonar dataset I'm using. This dataset is freely available on internet. You can download this dataset from there. Okay. So I'm reading this dataset and then over here I'm checking the length of columns, means how many columns this dataset have. So we have 61 columns in this data set. All right, now df.head. So these are basically pandas functions, basic functions. Df.head function will show you the top 5 record of that data set. So this is how our data set looks like. So we have total 61 columns. 0 to 60 is 61. Okay, so 0 to 59, you'll see over here we have different numeric values over here. So what these values are? So these values, these numbers represent the energy, right, within a particular frequency band, right? So these numbers, we have different numbers, and every number here represents the energy within a particular frequency band, and on the basis of these numeric values, finally our task is to find out R means rock, and there are two classes in dataset, in this dataset, rock and mine. Okay, so this is a binary classification problem, and we have two classes. One class is rock and other class is mine, and on the basis of these frequency these numbers, energy numbers, we have to finally classify whether a particular record belongs to rock class or a mine class. This is our functionality. This is the task which we have to perform, right? So you have seen the dataset now. After that, let's divide the data in x and y variable. Y variable will be the variable which we, dependent variable, and x is a independent variable. On the basis of x, we have to find out what would be the y. So y is dependent on the values of x. All right. So x is an independent variable. What all columns we have to put in an independent variable? 0 to 59, right? All these columns belongs to x class, and on the basis of these 59 columns, on the basis of these 59 different energy numbers, we have to finally tell whether whether that signal is getting towards mine or rock. Okay, so 0 to 60. This 60 means 60 will not get counted until 59, right? So this is just a slicing methods using pandas. You can slice the you can perform slicing on your dataset. This is what we are doing over here. So 0 colon 60 means we want for first 59 columns as x. I'm storing first 59 columns in x, and the 60th column, the last column, is in y variable. Now we have two variable. X is having first 59 columns and y is having the last column, right? So y is what we want to predict, right? And x, on the basis of x we want to predict. We have divided our data into x and y, and by writing this you can see these are the different values present in x, and then I'm printing the value of y, and in y we have this data, right? This is what we want in y, rock and mine. These are the two classes. Okay, so Now the next thing is, see, now if you'll see in Y, we have data in the form of R and M. We have alphabets. But in machine learning or deep learning, our algorithm understands numbers. So we have to convert this column into numeric form, right? Which our algorithm will understand, right? So first of all, we'll perform label encoding on it. So label encoding simply means convert. If you have data in the form of string or alphabets, then with the help of label encoding, we can convert that data into numbers. So that is what I'm doing over here. So first of all, I'm importing label encoder, and then I have created one variable. In this variable, I'm calling this label encoder. Okay. Now what I'm doing over here is I am not using a separate variable. I'm updating the Y variable only with the label encoded output. So that's why I've written Y equals to this Y label encoder, in which we have called the label encoder class, dot fit underscore transform. Fit underscore transform simply means, first of all, we'll put all the data which is present in Y. So this is the data which is present in Y. So we are fitting all the data which is present in Y, and then we are transforming into numbers. Which data we want to fit and transform? The data which is present in Y variable. And what is present in Y variable? This is present in Y variable. And that's it, guys. By writing these three lines, you can convert any column which is in alphabetical form. You can convert it into numbers. So after that, I'm printing this Y variable. Now you can see we have this output, right? We have ones and zero. Why we are having two kind of numbers? Because we have two classes. One stands for rock and zero stands for mine. Okay. So this is what label encoding is. Now guys, let's suppose if you are working on machine learning problems, then you only need to perform label encoding, right? Let's suppose if you are working on same data set using machine learning, then we only need to perform label encoding, right? To convert these columns, the columns which we have data in the form of string, to convert it into numbers. But right now we are working on deep learning. So that means we have to first of all label encode our data, and then we have to perform one hot encoding on it. Now let me tell you what is one hot encoding. So see over here in next column. So once we perform label encoding, after that we are performing one hot encoding. So one hot encoding simply means creating separate columns for each class. So we have two classes, the two output classes, rock and mine. So that means we now the next task is to have two different columns for storing the data of two different classes. Let's suppose if you have 10 output classes, right? You want to perform classification and you have 10 output classes. Then in deep learning, you should have 10 different columns for every different class. All right. So this is what this one hot encoding does over here. One hot encoder, right? So in the same way as I have imported label encoder, in the same way we'll import one hot encoding. So let me show you. Maybe I have used above. See over here. I have already imported this label encoding and one hot encoder above in the very first line of my very first cell of my Jupyter notebook. So that's why I'm not importing over here. So we were over here, right? What we are doing is, again, in one hot encoder, we are fitting and transforming the data. Which data you want to fit and transform? The data on which you have performed the label encoding. So that's what we are doing, and then we are converting it into an array, and This time I have used a capital Y variable. Now it means this capital Y variable is the variable which is having the output classes data, right? So let's see how it looks like. See, we are having output in the form of this 0 and then comma 1. This simply means we are having two separate columns. One column is for rock class, one column is for mine class, and let's suppose if particular record belongs to rock, then below rock will get 1 and in mine class will get 0. And let's suppose if any record belongs to mine class, then there will be 1 below mine and 0 in rock. So one hot encoding simply means we want to have the details of output classes in the form of binary. That's why we are creating separate column for each class, and the data point which belongs to any particular class, behind that class you'll get a 1 and rest of the columns of output classes will be 0. Right guys? So always remember, whenever you are working on deep learning problems, you have to label encode first, and then you have to perform one hot encoding for getting a separate column for each output class. Okay, and this is how you can perform one hot encoding. All right. Now our output column is ready. Now let's divide our data into train and test. On the basis of on training data will train our algorithm, and on test data will test our algorithm. So this is what we are doing over here. Train underscore x, test underscore x, train underscore y, and test underscore y are the four variables, and train test split is a method, right? We are passing these two variables x and y. This capital Y I have just shown you, this y, one hot encoded data, and x we have already defined above. Let me show you once. Yeah, this is x, right? So first 59 columns are there in it. So we are splitting the data, and after that I've printed the shape of all the variables. So in train X, we have 166 different records and 60 column, and in train Y, why we are having two? Because we have two output classes and we have two separate column for them. So that's why we are getting two over here. In the same way, this is test X and this is test Y. Okay, so now let's begin with the functionality of, till now we have just did data pre-processing. We hadn't used the algorithm yet. We have prepared our data, right? So now learning rate I'm using is this, right? Training epochs, that means training epochs is 100. That simply means I want to train my algorithm 100 times on same data set with different weight values, right? So what we want is, we want to retrain our algorithm again and again, okay? With this learning rate, means with this speed, I want to train my algorithm 100 times, okay? And this cost history, this is basically a blank list right now. This list will store the errors later on. You can even forget it about this particular variable right now. Just remember this learning rate and training epochs. All right. After that, so guys, see this picture. So we are working on perceptron. That means we have single neuron who will perform the functionality. How many how many inputs we have? We have 60 different columns. So that means x1 to x60. All those columns will go to a perceptron, and additionally we are giving bias. Bias is a separate input, all right? And first is summation. All these input values will get multiplied with their weights, and we will add all of them over here, and then we'll use our activation function on it, and then we'll get a output, right? This is what we want. So how many output classes we have? 2, rock and mine. So I have created one variable with the name of n underscore class. I've written 2 in it. So this variable I'll use, and because guys, in next few lines we need to define how many output classes we have. So I have separately created a variable and I've stored the output classes value in it. So we have two different classes and that thing I've stored in n classes. Okay. So we have x is our input. Now see over here, again I'm creating x as a placeholder. That means I want to assign value to this placeholder at the time of execution. But over here, see, this is very important. This you always need to change as per your dataset. This first none simply means the data which we want to give. So we have data train x and test x, right? So this none simply means we'll define the data over here later on. And this 60 is important. You have to tell over here how many different inputs you have. How many different inputs we have? 60 inputs, right? How we have 60 inputs? Remember from here. 0 to 59 is 60. So we have different 60 inputs, and that is what I'm writing over here, that we are having 60 inputs. And guys, always remember, whenever you're working on any data set, you have to write the number of inputs you are giving to your algorithm. You have to define that over here. So we are having 16 in this case. So let's suppose you are working on a data set where you have 14 columns. Then you have to mention 14 over here. Right guys? So x is a placeholder, but I have told to this x that we have 60 different inputs. Okay? W. Now how many weights we need? Weights always depends upon the number of inputs, right? Means if you have 60 input values, then you need 60 different weight values, right? One weight value for every input. So that clears over here that we need 60 weight values, and then n classes. What is there in n classes? 2. So whenever you define weight, you have to tell, you need to define two things. Whenever you're defining weights, you need to define two things. First is how many weights you want. We have 60 weights. Why? Because we have 60 inputs, 60 columns for input. Okay. And n classes means how many output classes you have. What is the next operation and what is the number for that? So we have two output classes and then you have to define 2 over here. Right guys? So let's suppose if you're working on multi-class classification problem and if you have 5 output classes, then you have to define 5 over here. Right? Here this number and this number will always be similar. Input and weights. And this number would be the output classes. How many output classes you want. And bias. In bias, we are writing n classes. Why we need two bias? See, what is bias? Bias is just another input to our neuron. So, in this case, we are having two output classes, and for those two output classes, we need two biases. Alright, so this is clear. X, W, and B. Right. Now let's, in this line, I'm initializing the variables because I have already told you in my TensorFlow basics, like whenever you are using variables, you need to initialize the variables first, then only you can use the variable. So we have initialized the variables. W is a variable and bias is also a variable. And if you want to use these two things, then you need to initialize. So I'm initializing the variables over here. And this is a y. Why we need y now? See, y. See, whenever you want to see your model performance, you compare your actual y value with the predicted y value, right? So this y is storing the actual y values. That means the y values which are present in this last column. We are storing these values, the last column values, mine or rock, these values in a y variable. Okay, so where is it? Here. So y is again a placeholder, and what we are defining over here, how many output classes we have? Two output classes. Then you need to define over here, n classes is storing is having two in it, so that's why I've written n over here, sorry, n classes over here. Okay, now this line is important. This line will give you the predicted y values. So this y will have your actual y value, and this line will give you a predicted y value. So what we are doing over here is we are using a softmax activation function. Guys, remember in my second lecture of this detailed deep learning program, in the second lecture I have explained you what softmax function does. So softmax function will give you the probability for each class, and the class with the higher probability will become the output class. Okay, so we are using the softmax function. So basically, see guys, if you see it properly, first of all, let's understand this much. What we are doing over here, we are performing a multiplication. On what? We are multiplying input with weights, right? And then we are adding bias on it. This functionality is the summation function of neuron. Guys, remember this summation function. What is the task of this function? This will multiply x1 into w1 plus x2 into w3 plus x3 into w3, and it will goes up to x60 into w60, and it will add all the values and then it will add bias in it. Summation function of a perceptron. So this is what I'm doing over here. Okay, where is it? Yeah, here. So this from here to here, this is the functionality of a that summation function. Okay, or summation function of a perceptron. And once you perform the summation function, then we are using a activation function on the value which you get from the summation function. And which activation function we are using? We are using softmax activation function. Why we are using softmax function? Because we want to know that particular record belongs to which particular class, and how we are knowing it, by knowing the probability of each class. The class with the higher probability value will be the output of that particular record. Okay, so this PRED variable is a variable which is having a code of perceptron. This is what perceptron does, right? Summation and then activation. So in this PRED variable, we are having a predicted y value, and in this y variable, we are having an actual y value. Now we have predicted y and actual y. Now our task is to find the loss, to find the error, means how much difference is there in between our actual y value and the predicted y value. So for that, in this cost underscore function variable, I'm calculating the loss. So you can see over here, PRED, what is it? Predicted y value. And what this y is? Actual y value. And what we are doing on it is, we are calculating a RMSE on it. Got it, guys? So we have calculated the error now. Now on the basis of error, we will update the weights in order to improve the accuracy of our model. So for weight updation, what we does for weight updation? We use optimizer, right? So guys, if you remember my last 2-3 lectures, in those lectures I have talked about optimizers and how to update weights. Over there I've already explained that after calculating loss, why we calculate loss? Because we want to know the performance of our model, performance of our algorithm, right? And to improve the performance of your model, we update the weight and then we train our algorithm again with those new updated weights, and we perform this functionality for some time, right? So the optimizer which I'm using over here is gradient descent optimizer, right? And the learning rate. Remember, this learning rate is a variable which I have defined above. Let me show you again here. So this is the learning rate which I'm using, and minimize is a function what we want to perform. We want to minimize what we want to minimize, the error, the loss, the cost function. This is what there is in cost function, the difference between actual y and predicted y, right? So till now we have just build a graph. Build a graph simply means we have written the code like what we want to perform. We have written everything in sequence. First of all, we have defined the value of x and the y and w and bias, and then we have written an equation for perceptron, and then we have calculated the loss, and then we have written a code for updating the weights. Now let's start the session and execute our code, and let's see the result. Okay, so over here I'm starting the session. See guys, whenever you want to, after building a graph, till now we have built a graph. After building a graph, when you want to run the TensorFlow graph, you need to start the session first. I have started the session. Second line will initialize all the variables, right? And this is a blank list. This will store the error after every epoch. Epoch means how many times you want to retrain your algorithm with different weights. So how many epochs we have defined? So 100 epochs, right? So that means this MSc underscore history is a blank list, and this list will store the 100 different error values which we will be getting after every epoch. Okay? Okay. So this is the code which will finally show you the result. Okay? So for I in range 100. So why I'm using this for loop over here? Because I want to iterate the process. I want to, retrain my algorithm again and again for 100 times. Okay. So that's why I've written this. And in this loop, we are running a session. So guys, I've already told you whenever you want to execute the code, you need to run the session. So that's why I'm running a session over here. Train step. What is there in training step? We have a code for optimizer which is responsible for updating a weight after every epoch, right? When we want to run a next epoch after updating the weights, right? And who is updating the weights? This optimizer. And where we have stored that code? In training step variable. So training step, and see over here, x is a placeholder and y is a placeholder. Remember, this x is a variable and this y is a variable which we have defined above. Let me show you again. So here is a x, this is a placeholder, and here is y, this is again a placeholder. So we need to give values to it. So now we want to train our algorithm first. So we have already divided our data into train and test. Remember, we have divided our data into train and test. So over here, in that x variable, I'm providing the data which is in train underscore x, and in y variable, I'm providing a data which is in train underscore y, right? So what this x and y is having now? Train underscore x and train underscore y. And so guys, okay, give me a second. See, at the place of this none, what we are writing is train underscore x. And in y also we have written none. None means we'll assign the values later on. So what is there at this place now? Train underscore y. Alright. So, okay. So we are training our algorithm. After training, we are calculating the error. How we are calculating the error? By using this cost function which I have explained to you above. After getting the error, we have this list. Okay, so where is that list? Give me a second again. Cost underscore history, right? So this is a blank list. In this list, this is what I'm doing over here. We are storing the value, okay? Which value we are storing? The value which is in cost variable. What is there in cost variable? The error which we have calculated after every epoch. And we are appending what? We are appending the cost history array, right? So where we have created this array, we have created this cost history over here. All right. So we have calculated the cost. Now, sorry, we have calculated the cost. The training process is done now. Now we are testing our code. How we are testing our code? PRED. What is there in this variable? This is the code for our perceptron, right? We have predicted Y value in it. And in X, what we are feeding? Test X, right? The data which is in test X variable, right? And then finally, we are calculating the error. We have predicted Y value in the text Y value, and we have this MSE underscore history list, and in this list we are storing all the errors which we are calculating over here. And you can see we have 100 epochs, so this is the epoch 0th epoch, and we worked till 99th epoch. So this is how you get the output. So thank you guys.